Welcome to our Defense Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into the heated debate among U.S. political circles regarding America's role in the Middle East conflict. While some MAGA supporters, like Steve Bannon, push for strong support and possible military action against Iran, others like Senators Rand Paul and Thomas Massie urge caution, emphasizing constitutional limits and unintended consequences. President Trump remains hesitant, stressing no desire for conflict, but acknowledging the stakes if nuclear weapons are involved. The internal chaos and shifting foreign policies highlight a nation grappling with its next move. Next, we turn to the Middle East, where tensions are soaring. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz called for the removal of Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei after Iran's missile attack on an Israeli hospital injured dozens. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu warned that no one is safe in this conflict, as Israel claims to have gained aerial superiority over Iran, destroying a significant portion of Iran's air defenses. Iran responded with hundreds of ballistic missiles, but Israel's advanced missile defenses have intercepted most, maintaining their strategic upper hand. The situation remains volatile, with global powers urging restraint. Finally, the economic ripple effects of this conflict are beginning to show. Experts warn that if the Israel-Iran conflict escalates into a full-blown war, it could significantly impact the U.S. economy, especially through disruptions like the Strait of Hormuz closing, which could spike oil prices. Meanwhile, in trade news, Canada is considering tariffs on U.S. steel and aluminum, depending on ongoing negotiations, as tensions from the U.S.-China trade war continue to influence markets. Additionally, the U.S. housing market might see relief if trade tensions ease, potentially stabilizing mortgage rates. Stay tuned as we keep an eye on these developments. Please continue to watch for the detailed insights. CNN reports that the escalating Israel-Iran conflict could have profound economic repercussions for the United States, even though the fighting is geographically distant. Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair, reassures that the U.S. economy is less dependent on foreign oil than in the 1970s, suggesting that energy shocks might be less severe this time. However, economists warn that key oil routes such as the Strait of Hormuz, remain vulnerable. Iran's threats to block this critical choke point could cause energy prices to spike dramatically. The potential for a broader war raises fears of supply disruptions, which could lead to higher gasoline costs and inflation, especially if tariffs or sanctions further inflate prices. Experts emphasize that even without full-scale conflict, the economic strain through higher energy costs and tariff hikes could slow consumer spending and trigger a recession, highlighting the fragile balance between geopolitical tensions and economic stability. CBC details the complex web of political and military considerations surrounding the Iran situation, with a particular focus on the U.S. and Israel's strategic moves. Former Trump officials and allies such as Steve Bannon argue for restraint, emphasizing the importance of public support and cautioning against reckless escalation. Meanwhile, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has made stark statements declaring that Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei can no longer be allowed to exist following recent missile strikes on Israeli hospitals, which he claims are direct threats to Israel's survival. The article reveals that Trump, despite contemplating military options, has reportedly vetoed an Israeli plan to assassinate Khamenei, reflecting a tense diplomatic landscape where Israel seeks American assistance for strikes on Iran's underground nuclear facilities, particularly the fortified Fordow site, while the U.S. remains cautious, wary of expanding the conflict and provoking unintended consequences. International reactions from Russia and China condemn Israel's actions, calling for de-escalation, but the risk of escalation remains high amid calls for diplomacy and strategic posturing. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation reports on the intense rhetoric from Israeli officials and the potential for military action against Iran, with Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Katz expressing aggressive sentiments. Katz's statement that Khamenei can no longer be allowed to exist underscores the heightened threat perception, especially after Iranian missile strikes injured dozens at a hospital in Israel. Despite Israel's confidence in its military capabilities, there are indications that the U.S., under Trump's current leadership, has been hesitant to fully endorse aggressive measures, with reports suggesting Trump vetoed plans to target Khamenei early in the conflict. Meanwhile, global powers like Russia and China have issued stern condemnations, warning against military escalation, with Xi Jinping urging restraint to prevent a wider regional spillover. As Trump considers possible U.S. strikes, the geopolitical tension intensifies, with diplomatic efforts underway to avoid full-scale war, though the risk of miscalculation remains high amidst heated rhetoric and strategic uncertainties. The Associated Press reports that Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced a potential increase in tariffs on U.S. steel and aluminum imports, contingent upon the progress of ongoing trade negotiations with President Donald Trump. During their meetings at the G7 summit in Alberta, Carney emphasized the importance of safeguarding Canadian industries and workers from what he described as unjust U.S. tariffs. As negotiations continue, Canada plans to adjust its counter-tariffs on July 21st to reflect the evolving trade agreement with the broader context of a global trade war that Trump has escalated through hefty tariffs on steel, aluminum, autos, and other imports. Carney warned that these trade tensions jeopardize global economic stability, highlighting Canada's critical reliance on U.S. markets. Nearly $3.6 billion worth of goods cross the border daily, and its role as the largest foreign supplier of vital minerals and metals to the U.S. Despite the uncertainty, Carney advocates for a true free trade relationship, especially in key sectors like steel, aluminum, and autos, even as the U.S. maintains tariffs that could persist or increase. Yahoo U.S. details the intense and rapid escalation of Israel's military campaign against Iran, marking its most substantial attack ever on the country. Israel quickly gained air superiority, destroying approximately a third of Iran's air defense systems within hours through a combination of airstrikes and drone attacks. Iran's primary response has been launching ballistic missiles, with over 400 fired, though their effectiveness is limited by Israel's sophisticated missile defense systems like Arrow 3 and Arrow 2, which are costly and possibly running low on interceptors. Despite Iran's efforts, its missile barrage has diminished, and its ability to manufacture new weapons appears constrained. Israeli jets, flying largely unchallenged over western Iran, continue targeting strategic sites with minimal losses, while Iran's missile capabilities are exposed as inefficient. The conflict's trajectory remains uncertain. Israel's dominance could persist unless Iran's remaining missiles increasingly threaten civilian populations, potentially shifting the balance of power in Tehran's favor if such strikes intensify. According to the Globe and Mail, the potential resolution of the Canada-US trade war could significantly influence mortgage rates in Canada. The trade tensions have been a major factor causing volatility in bond markets, which directly impacts fixed mortgage rates and has led to speculation about how the Bank of Canada might respond if the economy stabilizes. If a credible deal is reached, restoring consumer confidence and boosting the economy, the Bank of Canada might hold its current interest rate steady at around 2.75%, with the possibility of fixed-rate mortgages becoming more affordable as bond yields decrease. Economists suggest that a successful trade agreement could halt the downward trend in rates, but ongoing uncertainties, such as job growth and broader international trade tensions, could still prompt rate cuts, though expectations have recently diminished to just a 25 basis point reduction in 2025. Meanwhile, the situation surrounding Ukraine and Russia continues to evolve, with Yahoo US reporting that prisoner exchanges are ongoing, marking a rare moment of progress in the prolonged conflict. The exchange of soldiers, including those severely injured or ill, has seen hundreds of prisoners swapped, with Ukrainian President Zelensky confirming that some of those released had been held for over 3 years. Despite these exchanges, the war persists, with negotiations still underway to address the broader issues of ending the conflict, as Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov indicated that further stages of prisoner swaps are planned. The exchanges symbolize some hope amid the ongoing hostilities, but the war's fundamental issues remain unresolved, with both sides preparing for continued negotiations. In Europe, the Council's Europe's Human Rights Commissioner Michael Flaherty has voiced concern over Germany's handling of protests related to the Gaza conflict, highlighting alleged excessive police force and restrictions on freedom of expression. Flaherty criticized measures such as intrusive surveillance, arbitrary police checks, and limitations on the use of Arabic language and cultural symbols during demonstrations, particularly in Berlin. These actions have sparked worries about discrimination based on political opinion, religion, or nationality, especially after violent clashes at protests that resulted in injuries to both police and participants. The commissioner emphasized that freedom of expression is a fundamental right that must be protected, warning that any measures restricting it should be carefully scrutinized to avoid undermining democratic principles. BBC reports on the aftermath of Iran's missile attack on the Soroka Medical Center in Israel, vividly depicting the chaos and destruction wrought by the strike. The hospital, still billowing with black smoke, was peppered with twisted shrapnel and debris, illustrating the ferocity of the attack. Patients and staff were evacuating amid the chemical dust and structural damage, with the director lamenting the extensive destruction to multiple wards and the precarious situation they faced. Israeli officials, including Culture Minister Miki Zohar, condemned Iran's actions, framing them as war crimes and vowing a strong retaliatory response, emphasizing the stark contrast between Israel's efforts to minimize civilian harm and Iran's alleged targeting of civilian infrastructure. The escalating conflict has brought both nations to the brink of a broader war, with Israel striking Iranian sites and Iran firing missiles into Israel, highlighting the dangerous potential for further escalation amid international tensions and conflicting narratives about the targeting and consequences of these military actions. Meanwhile, the BBC also covers the tragic case of Wilhelm Mongan, whose family expressed a profound disappointment over the open verdict at his inquest. Despite a post-mortem indicating an uncertain cause of death, the family believed he had taken his own life after suffering bullying and mistreatment within the army. The coroner acknowledged that Mongan was distressed by treatment from some of his superiors, and his death was marked by a 3-week delay in discovery, which added to the family's anguish. The army admitted fault, expressing regret and promising to implement the lessons learned, but the family remains haunted by unanswered questions about his death. The case underscores ongoing concerns about mental health and bullying in military institutions, with the family hoping that their tragedy will lead to systemic change to prevent future losses. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses thoughtfully curated by the 6DO team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6DO Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6DO team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6DO Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6do Brief via email.
Got a book so big and bright, open it and take a flight. Learn about the stars and sea. Everything is here for me. Flip the pages one by one. Knowledge under the sun. From dinosaurs to galaxies, a world of endless mysteries. Encyclopedia, yay. Facts and fun all day. From A to Z, let's see. Curious minds run free. Jump into the pages deep. Secrets that you want to keep. Time will fly and you will find magic lies in every line. Animals and history. Science full of mystery. Gotta read and gotta know. Watch our minds all start to grow. Encyclopedia, yay. Facts and fun all day. From A to Z, let's see. Curious minds run free, yeah. Jump into the pages deep. Secrets that you want to keep. Time will fly and you will find magic lies in every line. To run free line. Every line's run Animals and history. Science full of mystery.